You stand on the edge of a lost world, looking up at a prehistoric sky. The dense, sprawling forests of the Cretaceous period stretch out endlessly. And high above, a sun unlike anything you've ever seen shines down. It's a feeling that's both wild and strangely peaceful. You breathe in air thick with carbon dioxide and humidity, the kind you'd only find today in the deepest, most remote parts of the Amazon. This is the world of the dinosaurs, an empire that has reigned for 160 million years, dominating every corner from the deepest oceans to the highest mountain peaks. You can hear the distant roar of a T-Rex somewhere far off, or the chirping calls of a triceratops grazing on ferns. For them, everything is perfect, a perpetual cycle of life and death. They have no idea that the universe is about to write a blood-red final chapter to their epic story. On that day, about 66 million years ago, a colossal shadow began to appear on the horizon. It wasn't a cloud, but a strange celestial object. It was so massive that, in just a few minutes, it blocked out most of the sun's light. At first, it might have been seen as just an interesting event, a bizarre omen. But for predators like the T-Rex, they might have felt a strange vibration in the air. A terrifying hiss erupted, piercing the atmosphere like a giant bullet tearing through a still lake. Then, suddenly, darkness. You stand there, feeling a deafening silence. The asteroid is hit. And it wasn't a normal impact. It was an event of total annihilation, one no civilization could have ever imagined. The collision carved out a crater 180 kilometers wide and 20 kilometers deep, a scar on the planet we now call Chicxulub. This is a story you think you already know. An asteroid strikes, and that's the end of it. But in reality, that's like saying a house fire was caused by a single match, without mentioning it was built of dry wood and had been soaked in gasoline. The impact was just the final blow, ending a dynasty that had been weakening for a long time. Could there be a hidden truth you've never heard? You might not know that even before the asteroid arrived, another geological catastrophe had been unfolding for thousands of years. The colossal volcanic eruptions at the Deccan Traps Plateau pumped millions of tons of toxic gas into the atmosphere, heating and then cooling the Earth, disrupting the food chain. It was like a sick patient, already weakened by illness, who then takes a fatal punch. The asteroid didn't kill all the dinosaurs. It simply finished off a kingdom that was already on the brink. Today, you can find evidence of this terrifying event in a thin layer of rock beneath the ground. A dark, narrow band of rock filled with rare elements like iridium appears globally. We call it the KPG boundary. That thin layer is a monument to a terrifying moment and the answer to the biggest question in biological history. What happened to these giants? It's a fossilized crime scene, and that layer is the smoking gun. But the story isn't over yet. 99% of them vanished, but there's one truth that still exists today. Are you curious about this fact? Comment yes below and we'll explore it together. What happened in that very moment and how the world changed will be the next part of our story. Before that fateful asteroid, you might imagine the world of the dinosaurs was a thriving, bustling utopia. A perfect ecosystem running like a well-oiled machine. But the truth is far more dramatic and complex. For thousands of years, a different kind of monster had been stirring beneath the Earth's surface. A geological beast that was slowly, inexorably, poisoning the planet. You have to rewind your mind's eye from the single cataclysmic moment to a slow-motion disaster playing out over millennia. This wasn't a Hollywood movie. It was a quiet, suffocating death by 1,000 cuts. It's like discovering that before the big villain shows up, the hero was already fighting a hidden disease. Think about the largest natural disaster you've ever seen on the news. A volcanic eruption in Hawaii, a massive earthquake in California. Now, multiply that by 1,000,000. Deep within the earth, in what is now modern-day India, a geological pressure cooker was building. This was the Deccan Traps, a massive volcanic province that was erupting with a fury unimaginable today. It wasn't a single volcano, but a series of immense fissures in the Earth's crust, spewing lava and toxic gases for hundreds of thousands of years. The lava flows were so vast they covered an area larger than the state of Texas, piling up in layers that are miles thick. This wasn't a quick bang, but a slow, continuous exhalation of planetary fury. The sheer scale of it is difficult to grasp, a monument to the raw, untamed power of our planet's geology. And the real killer wasn't the lava itself, but what it released into the atmosphere. You're breathing in a soup of sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and other greenhouse gases. A cocktail that first caused a period of intense global warming. Imagine the summers in the American Midwest today, but on a global scale and intensified 100-fold. This heat cooked the planet, disrupting weather patterns and causing widespread droughts. Then, just as dramatically, the same gases would eventually block out the sun, causing a sudden cooling. This constant, wild oscillation between extreme heat and cold put the planet's ecosystems under immense stress. It's like a person trying to run a marathon in the Arizona sun, then immediately being thrown into the Alaskan winter, back and forth for thousands of years. No living thing can endure that forever. It's no wonder so many species were already dying out. This slow burn disaster was already causing massive extinctions, especially among the marine reptiles and plants. The very foundation of the dinosaurs' food chain was beginning to crumble. So when the asteroid finally hit, it didn't just kill the dinosaurs. It delivered a finishing blow to a kingdom that was already teetering on the edge. The impact was the final note in a symphony of destruction that had been playing for ages. It's a subtle but crucial detail often overlooked in the popular narrative. What happens when a global superpower is already weak and fractured? A single punch can bring it down. This is one of the most fascinating facts about the dinosaur extinction. It was a 1-2 punch. The geological disaster set the stage, and the cosmic one brought down the curtain. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest events in history are the result of multiple, seemingly unrelated factors converging at the same time. This story makes you wonder, what other natural disasters are we currently underestimating? What's a natural disaster you're most curious about? Share your thoughts below. The story you think you know begins with a bang, but the reality was so much more. You're no longer just a witness. You're standing at ground zero in a world on the brink of total annihilation. It's an oddly quiet moment before the storm. The air is still. The dinosaurs are looking up at the strange, bright object in the sky. Then, in an instant, everything changes. The asteroid, a monster of rock and metal estimated to be about 10 kilometers wide, the size of Mount Everest turned on its side, plunges into the atmosphere at a speed of over 20 kilometers per second. It hits the shallow seas of what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, with an energy equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. The force is so immense it's difficult to even put into human terms, a level of destructive power that dwarfs every single weapon and natural disaster we've ever known. It's the final, fatal punch in the 1-2 combination that started with the Deccan Traps. The initial moment of impact isn't a sound you could hear. It's a shockwave that rips through the planet itself. Imagine dropping a bowling ball into a bucket of water. The splash is immense, but beneath the surface, the water is instantly displaced and churned. The asteroid does the same thing, but on a cosmic scale. It instantly vaporizes itself along with millions of tons of bedrock. This vaporized rock, a superheated cloud of dust and gas, expands faster than the speed of sound, creating a blast wave that incinerates everything in its path for hundreds of miles. Forests burst into flames, and any animal caught in the open is instantly flash-fried. If you were a T-Rex 200 miles away, you might have felt a terrible shaking, looked up, and then, well, you wouldn't have time to process what happened before you were gone. But that's just the beginning. The real devastation came from what the asteroid hit. It didn't just strike dirt. It hit a massive layer of limestone and gypsum rock. When gypsum is superheated, it releases massive amounts of sulfur, a key ingredient for creating sulfuric acid rain. This means the immediate aftermath wasn't just fire and darkness. It was also a planet being doused in a corrosive, toxic storm. You can practically feel the air burning, the metallic taste of dust and sulfur on your tongue. The shockwave travels outward, triggering earthquakes and volcanic eruptions around the globe. Tsunamis, hundreds of feet high, tear across coastlines, wiping out marine and coastal ecosystems. It's a cascade of destruction, a chain reaction that spirals out of control. It's a bit of a cosmic joke. An asteroid hitting a random patch of land just happened to strike the worst possible place on Earth, a geological powder keg ready to blow. And here's a quirky fact you might not know. The impact was so powerful that it ejected material high above Earth's atmosphere, and that debris rained back down across the planet. This wasn't a gentle shower. It was a hellish meteor shower of superheated rock and glass pellets, heating the atmosphere to oven-like temperatures and setting the world on fire a second time. This global inferno was so intense, it likely killed any unprotected animal that survived the initial blast wave. It's a level of chaos and destruction that's hard to wrap your head around, a moment where the very foundations of the planet were shaken to their core. We're still finding evidence of this global fallout in rock layers across the world. A telltale signature of this cosmic curse. Have you seen the new NASA mission to an asteroid? Comment below if you have. You've survived the initial blast wave, the flash fires, and the mega tsunamis. But the terror is just beginning. As you stand amidst the smoldering ruins of a world that was, you look up and realize the sky is gone. Not just cloudy, but truly gone. The millions of tons of dust, soot, and vaporized rock that were launched into the atmosphere have created a global shroud, blocking out the sun completely. The world is plunged into an eerie, perpetual twilight. This isn't just a storm. It's a dark winter, and it will last for months, maybe even years. The planet's climate system, which took billions of years to perfect, has just been hit with a cosmic sledgehammer. It's like the universe flicked a light switch and just left it off. The most immediate and devastating effect of the dark winter is the collapse of the food chain. Without sunlight, plants can't perform photosynthesis. The ferns, the giant trees, and the lush plant life that sustained the herbivorous dinosaurs all begin to die off. You can see their leaves wilting, their mighty trunks cracking. For the herbivores like Triceratops, this means starvation. They were built for an all-you-can-eat buffet, and now the buffet is closed permanently. And as the herbivores die, the carnivores that prey on them, like the mighty T-Rex, are next. It's a domino effect, a planetary-scale famine that respects no species, no matter how powerful they once were. It's a tragic reversal of fortune, where the kings of the world are brought down not by a bigger beast, but by the simple, brutal absence of light. And here's a quirky fact. Some scientists believe that the impact's blast wave might have been so intense that it ignited a global firestorm. Soot from these fires would have been a major contributor to the darkness, even more than the dust. It's an incredible thought. The asteroid not only caused a planetary famine, but also set the world on fire, and then the ashes from that fire helped to starve the remaining survivors. It's a macabre irony, a cruel cosmic joke. The dinosaur extinction wasn't a sudden, clean death. It was a slow, agonizing descent into darkness and cold, a drawn-out struggle for survival in a world that had become utterly hostile. The very air they breathed had become their enemy. As you shiver in the perpetual gloom, you might wonder what it was like for the survivors. Small mammals, who lived in burrows underground, had a better chance. They were protected from the initial heat and the falling debris. They could also survive on seeds, roots, and insects, food sources that didn't rely directly on sunlight. This is a classic zigzag narrative moment. While the giants are falling, the tiny, insignificant creatures are quietly laying the groundwork for a new era. It's a powerful lesson in adaptability and resilience. It reminds us that in the face of cataclysm, it is often not the strongest or the largest that survive, but the most adaptable. What would be your survival tip for a global winter? Comment below and share your thoughts. You've survived the initial darkness, but the nightmare isn't over. The dust and soot from the impact and the subsequent firestorms have blocked out the sun, plunging the planet into a deep, chilling cold. This isn't just a chilly day. It's an unprecedented impact winter that turns the once lush tropics into frozen wastelands. The global temperature plummets, in some estimates by as much as 20 degrees Celsius. Water that was once liquid freezes, and snow begins to fall where it had never fallen before. The world you knew, a world of tropical warmth and sprawling jungles, is now a desolate, frozen graveyard. It's a tragic cosmic joke, a planet-wide deep freeze, all triggered by a single fiery catastrophe. Think about the most brutal winter you've ever experienced, the kind where your breath instantly turns to frost and every step is a battle against the cold. Now imagine that everywhere on Earth, for years on end. This rapid shift from scorching heat to bitter cold is a 1-2 punch that kills off even more life. Many of the larger dinosaurs that survived the initial firestorm couldn't cope with the drastic change in temperature. Their metabolisms, built for a warm climate, couldn't handle the sudden freeze. It's an incredible reversal of fortune. A creature that could survive being flash-fried is ultimately defeated by the cold. It's a powerful lesson in how the smallest environmental shift can have the most profound consequences for even the largest of beings. And here's a quirky fact. Some scientists believe that the impact's initial energy was so immense that it heated the atmosphere to temperatures similar to a self-cleaning oven. So, for a few hours, the planet was a superheated inferno. Then, just as quickly, all that heat dissipated into space, leaving the planet to freeze. This wild swing from fire to ice is a testament to the sheer, terrifying power of the Chicxulub impact. The planet's climate was completely thrown out of balance, a perfect storm of environmental chaos that left no escape. The sheer scale of it is almost incomprehensible. A moment where the planet's life support system went haywire, oscillating wildly before crashing completely. So, what survived? Animals that were small, like early mammals, or those that could hibernate or find shelter in caves and burrows, were the lucky ones. The Earth became a place where size was no longer an advantage. It was a liability. The mighty T-Rex, with its immense need for food, couldn't find enough to eat in a frozen, barren world. The small mammals, however, could huddle together for warmth and survive on a fraction of the resources. It's a powerful lesson in how an ecological system, when pushed to its breaking point, will reset itself in the most unexpected ways, favoring the meek over the mighty. Share a crazy weather story you've heard. The world you knew is now a cold, dark, and barren place. The giants have fallen, and silence has replaced their roars. But this isn't the end of life. It's a reset. With the mighty dinosaurs gone, the stage is now set for a new act. And the stars of this show are not the big and powerful, but the small and resourceful. This is a dramatic zigzag moment in our story, a shift from the grand, epic scale of the dinosaurs to the humble, quiet struggle of the tiny creatures that would one day inherit the Earth. It's a powerful lesson in how an ecological system, when pushed to its breaking point, will reset itself in the most unexpected ways, favoring the meek over the mighty. Who were these survivors? They were small mammals, creatures no bigger than a mouse or a shrew. While the T-Rex was a metaphor for power and size, these little mammals were a testament to adaptability. They lived in burrows underground, which shielded them from the initial heat of the impact and the subsequent freezing cold. They were also generalists, meaning they could eat almost anything: insects, seeds, roots, and decaying plant matter. While the herbivores starved and the carnivores followed, these little scavengers found ways to survive in the ashes. Their metabolism was also a key advantage. Being small meant they needed less food and could huddle together to conserve warmth, a luxury the giant dinosaurs never had. Here's a quirky fact. Some of the first mammals to rise to prominence after the extinction were multituberculates, a group of rodents that looked a bit like modern-day squirrels or marmots. They were incredibly successful for millions of years, even coexisting with early primates, before eventually going extinct. It just goes to show how quickly life can fill a void, even with creatures you've never heard of. The extinction event was a clean slate that allowed these previously marginalized animals to finally emerge from the shadows and thrive. The world was no longer a dangerous place full of giant predators. It was a land of opportunity, a vast, empty canvas waiting for a new story to be painted. This is a bit like that scene in a movie where the plucky sidekick suddenly becomes the hero, stepping into a role no one ever expected them to fill. So, as the last of the great dinosaurs perish, you witness the dawn of a new era. It's a powerful, emotional shift from an age of brute strength to an age of cunning and resilience. The qualities that once led to dominance, size, power, specialized diets, were now liabilities. The very traits that made the dinosaurs successful were their undoing. The new rulers of the planet would be born from the survivors of the worst day in Earth's history. What animal do you think adapted the fastest to the post-impact world? Comment below and share your thoughts. The planet has been transformed, but the most lasting testament to that day isn't the freezing cold or the suffocating darkness. It's a colossal scar on the face of the Earth. You're floating above the Yucatan Peninsula, looking down at a perfect, enormous circle hidden beneath layers of sediment and ocean. This is the Chicxulub Crater, a monument to a global catastrophe and a key to unlocking the secrets of the extinction. It's a massive, geological grave, 180 kilometers wide, that tells a story of both destruction and new beginnings. It's a silent, cosmic tattoo on our planet, forever marking the moment everything changed. Finding this crater was a monumental feat of scientific detective work, a true zigzag narrative moment in modern science. For decades, scientists knew an impact had to have happened, but they couldn't pinpoint the exact location. It wasn't until oil geologists were drilling in Mexico that they found bizarre rock formations and gravitational anomalies, hinting at a massive buried structure. They had stumbled upon the smoking gun, the physical evidence of the cosmic curse that ended the reign of the dinosaurs. It's like a crime scene where the evidence was buried for 66 million years, and we finally found the weapon. This discovery wasn't a single aha moment, but a slow, painstaking process of connecting different scientific clues until the full picture finally emerged. Here's a quirky fact. Because the asteroid hit a shallow sea, the impact also vaporized massive amounts of water. That water vapor, along with all the other gases, initially acted as a powerful greenhouse gas, trapping some heat and then contributing to the intense, wild climate swings. It's a paradox. The same event that caused a dark winter also contributed to a period of intense warming. The Chicxulub Crater is more than just a hole in the ground. It's a time capsule. The rocks within and around it contain a record of that cataclysmic day. From the shocked quartz grains that only form under immense pressure to the iridium-rich clay layer that settled across the globe. It's a fossilized record of a moment that literally shook the planet to its core. The crater stands as a global graveyard, but it's also a monument to life's resilience. Without this event, mammals might still be living in the shadows of giants. The crater is a reminder that the world we inhabit today, a world dominated by mammals, is a direct result of a single, random event. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? Our existence is a direct consequence of this massive cosmic collision. What's the coolest natural landmark you've ever visited? It could be a crater, a canyon, or a mountain. Comment below and share your experience. The story you think you know is a tragedy of mass extinction, but the truth holds a secret that has been hiding in plain sight for 66 million years. Not all dinosaurs vanished. A small, feathered lineage with a knack for survival found a way to endure the global cataclysm. While the giants of the land fell, these smaller, more agile creatures were evolving, adapting, and ultimately triumphing in the face of impossible odds. This is the story of the unseen survivors, and you're about to realize that you see them every single day. They're a living legacy of an ancient empire that refused to die completely. So, who were these survivors? They were a group of small, feathered dinosaurs. Think of them as the ancestors of modern birds. While the giant, non-avian dinosaurs perished in the firestorms and the freezing cold, these smaller feathered relatives had a few key advantages. They were small enough to find shelter in burrows or caves, protecting them from the initial heat. Their feathers provided a crucial layer of insulation against the cold. And perhaps most importantly, they had beaks instead of teeth, allowing them to eat a wider variety of foods like seeds, which were plentiful in the post-impact world, unlike the lush vegetation that the large herbivores relied on. It's a great scientific joke. What did the dinosaurs eat for dinner after the asteroid hit? Whatever seeds they could find. This versatility meant they weren't tied to a single food source, giving them the flexibility to survive in a world where everything had changed. Here's a great historical fact. The evolutionary link between dinosaurs and birds was one of the most significant discoveries of the 20th century. Scientists realized that many feathered dinosaurs, like the Archaeopteryx, had skeletal features eerily similar to birds. This wasn't a case of birds simply evolving after dinosaurs. It was a realization that birds are dinosaurs. In a way, you can think of the extinction as a great filter. The heavy ground-dwelling dinosaurs were purged, but their airborne, feathered cousins flew on. The next time you look at a sparrow in your backyard, a pigeon in a city park, or an eagle soaring over a national park like Yellowstone, you're looking at a living dinosaur. It's a powerful, humbling thought. The creatures that once ruled the world didn't disappear entirely. They simply evolved into a new form, carrying the legacy of their ancient empire in their bones and feathers. The roar of the T-Rex has been replaced by the chirp of a robin and the mighty wings of a pterosaur by the graceful glide of a falcon. It's a profound testament to the adaptability of life. What's your favorite bird species? Comment below and let us know. You've explored the truth behind the extinction, but the story you often see on screen or in popular books is a different beast entirely. Hollywood loves a simple, dramatic narrative. A single giant asteroid strikes, a few screaming dinosaurs perish, and then life magically restarts. It's a great piece of entertainment, but you now know the truth is far more nuanced, complex, and scientifically fascinating. It wasn't one single event, but a convergence of disasters. A perfect storm of cosmic and geological chaos that changed the world forever. Let's separate the science from the fiction and get to the real story behind this global cataclysm. One of the biggest myths is that the asteroid hit a pristine, thriving world. As you learned, the dinosaurs were already facing a slow, millennia-long decline thanks to the Deccan Trap's volcanic eruptions. The ecosystem was already stressed, weakened by climate instability and atmospheric changes. The asteroid wasn't a sudden, unprovoked attack. It was the final devastating blow to an already sick empire. Another myth is that the impact was a simple explosion. In reality, it was a complex cascade of events. The initial shockwave, the release of toxic sulfur, the global firestorms, the dark winter, and the subsequent freezing temperatures. It was a 1-2 punch that knocked out the planet's climate system, not a single knockout blow. The true story is much more compelling than a single bang. Here's a quirky fact that debunks a common myth. Movies often depict dinosaurs being vaporized on impact. And while that happened at ground zero, the vast majority of dinosaurs died from the long-term, secondary effects. They starved, they froze, they were poisoned by acid rain, or they were killed by the global firestorm of re-entering ejecta. It was a slow, agonizing death for most, not an instantaneous vaporization. So, the T-Rex in Jurassic Park wouldn't have just roared and then vanished. It would have likely spent months struggling to find food in a frozen wasteland before finally succumbing to starvation or cold. The true story is far more compelling and scientifically accurate, showing that survival is often a long, drawn-out struggle against insurmountable odds. Understanding the nuances of the Chicxulub event isn't just an academic exercise. It's a lesson in how scientific theories evolve. We went from a simple asteroid theory to a more complex, multi-factor explanation that combines geology, climatology, and paleontology. It shows that even the most well-known stories in science can have hidden chapters waiting to be discovered. It's a reminder to question what we think we know and to be open to new evidence. What's a sci-fi movie myth you want us to debunk in a future video? Comment below and let us know. The Chicxulub event isn't just a story about the past. It's a profound warning for our future. You've just witnessed how a cosmic curse can fundamentally reshape an entire planet, ending an era of giants and ushering in a new age. This story makes you wonder, could it happen again? The truth is, the universe is a dangerous place, and our planet, a small blue marble in the cosmic void, is constantly under threat from stray asteroids and comets. The Chicxulub impact was a planetary wake-up call, a stark reminder that we are not alone and certainly not invulnerable. It's a humbling thought, isn't it? The same forces that birthed stars and galaxies can, in an instant, bring an end to a flourishing world. We are living in a moment unique in Earth's history. We know the threat is real, and we have the capacity to do something about it. So, what are we doing about it? The scientific and space communities are taking this threat with the utmost seriousness. NASA, along with other international agencies, has established programs to identify and track near-Earth objects, NEOs. Think of these as our planet's cosmic neighbors. These are asteroids and comets that pass relatively close to Earth, and by monitoring them using a global network of powerful telescopes, we can calculate their trajectories with incredible precision. This is a massive, ongoing, global effort. It's like we've put a cosmic lookout on duty, scanning the skies 24/7 for any sign of trouble, ensuring we don't get caught by surprise like the dinosaurs did. When a potentially hazardous object is identified, these international teams work together to assess the risk, creating a defense plan long before it becomes a real threat. It's a testament to human ingenuity and our capacity for global cooperation. And here's a quirky fact that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. One of the most promising ideas for deflecting a dangerous asteroid is called the kinetic impactor method. The name is just a fancy way of saying we're going to give it a nudge. It involves simply ramming a spacecraft, like a cosmic billiard ball, into the asteroid to alter its trajectory just enough to miss Earth. This was not just a theory. It was a success story. This method was tested in 2022 with NASA's DART mission, which intentionally crashed a spacecraft into a small asteroid moonlet named Dimorphos. The mission successfully altered the asteroid's orbit, proving that humanity has the capability to defend itself from a cosmic threat. It's a monumental shift from the dinosaurs' fate. They were helpless observers, unable to comprehend the shadow growing in their sky. But we have the power to change our destiny. We are no longer passive victims of the cosmos. We are active protectors of our home. We are the first species in history with the ability to prevent our own cosmic extinction. The Chicxulub event is a vital part of our planet's story, but it's also a powerful motivator for us to look outward, to explore the cosmos, and to protect the home we have. The next chapter of Earth's history isn't about what happens to us, but what we decide to do about what's coming. We have the technology, the will, and the collective spirit to face the cosmos head-on. Don't miss a single moment of this incredible journey. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Join us as we continue to uncover the universe's secrets and explore the biggest questions. And don't go anywhere, because next, we'll dive into the monsters of deep space and explore how black holes shape galaxies.